Let me just start off by thanking the team at Enable, headed by Mbuiselo Vilagazi, for this massive opportunity. So many people were hitting me up, wanting to be a part of this initiative. Greetings and welcome to this very special session brought to you by Enable. My name is Langa Zulu, co-founder at Algorithm Lab. This very short session is going to be about pioneering in entrepreneurship as well as innovation. This is a time where we definitely need pioneers such as myself, such as you, to carve out and solve the problems that we see in a number of areas and dimensions, whether it's job losses, whether it's the issue of the economy, which is in crisis. We're seeing a lot of communities protesting across the province, across the country. So that just shows that we are in trouble and we're in a crisis. Now, if we're in a crisis, that is a massive opportunity for pioneers such as myself as well as you to come up with solutions that are going to transform society and open up a whole bunch of economic opportunities. Now, we obviously need to talk about the fact that as a pioneer, you're one person that goes against the grain. So you do not follow the trends. As a pioneer, what you need to look at is you think critically across this and you zoom in into the tiny little details to see where the gaps are, where the opportunities could be, and how can you solve these problems. So we definitely need revolutionaries as well as rebels to come up and drive as well as create a new reality. So one of the first few questions that I want us to kick off this session is, what are some of the things that you see besides COVID-19? Well, COVID-19 is one of them, but what are some of the things that frustrate you on a daily that you talk about? Maybe you'd post on your Facebook, maybe you'd tell your friend. What is that one thing or a couple of things that frustrate you happening within your society, within your community? It could be in your company, a company that you work for, it could be in your church, but what are some of these things that frustrate you? So I want you to write down that. And the second question would be, you've got these things that frustrate you on a daily. You hear sometimes people talking about it. It may not necessarily frustrate you, but it may be frustrating those around you. Then the question is there someone that would pay you to solve that particular problem? That's a very big question. So, and that's how you sort of identify opportunities. And how much do you think they would pay you? Would they pay you $5? Would they pay you $20? Would they pay you 100 rands? Would they pay you 10,000 rands? So you need to start to figure that out as to what is the economic value of that solution you would come up with for that particular problem. And then lastly, what would be the resources that you would need to solve that particular problem? For example, right now, the issue of COVID-19, cash shouldn't really be exchanging hands. So what solution can you come up with to solve that particular problem, say in Texas, for example? So those are some of the things that you'd need to look at. Now, let's get on to this critical and crucial pillar that is going to guide you as you try to solve this problem as a pioneer or as an aspiring pioneer within your respective field. Is the issue of purpose. The issue of purpose is crucially important as to your motives. Why are you solving that particular problem? For example, why are you coming up with that particular solution? Solutions could either could either bring other problems, which is some of the things that you need to be conscious of as a pioneer or as a problem solver, that you could actually come up with a solution, but in that instance or in that process, you then destroy a whole lot of other things. So what is your motive? So what is your purpose? It's something that is crucially important that you first identify before you can do all these other things or take all these other steps into solving that particular problem as to what is your purpose, what is your motive, what is the cause, which is something that is going to guide you in whatever it is that you're doing. So one of the things that you need to ask yourself critically, honestly, is why are you here and why do you think you're here? So some of the things that you need to spend time on and ensure that you find the answer to that. It may take 5 hours, it may take 5 days, it may take 5 months, it may take 5 years, but you need to find your purpose, and your purpose is going to is going to be crucially important in giving you the direction as well as the steps that you take in solving the particular problem. Now, one of the things that you will then realize is the purpose will then drive you. It will motivate you. It will inspire you because you've got the vision. You know where this thing is leading to. It's just a matter of figuring out the process that you need to take in between where you are right now as well as where you want, which is where the ideal scenario where you solve that particular solution. So if I'm going to give you a practical example, in my case, my purpose is in whatever that I do, I live my purpose. Whether I'm sleeping, whether I'm awake, it's something that is within me. It's my lifestyle. It's in me. So that's something also that's crucially important. So the honesty becomes key. Transformation for me is big on my agenda. The issue of economic inclusiveness is big on my agenda. The issue of sustainable development, whatever that we do, we got to ensure that we do so sustainably. So those are some of my guiding pillars in whatever that I do, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's entertainment, whatever that I do, you'll then realize that there's always a transformational aspect to it. There's always the economic inclusiveness to it. There's always the sustainability part in whatever it is that I'm doing. So the issue of your purpose becomes crucially important in guiding your missions day by day, and hence my lifestyle as well to those who may know me. Now, as we go on after the issue of purpose, then the issue of resources, or rather skills that you may need so that you can then see to it that you live to your purpose. What are the skills that you need to ensure that you start solving that particular problem? And remember, it's not so much about the end goal, but the process. You must pay attention to the process and respect the process and trust in the process. And that's where skills become crucially important. So part of the skills that you may need, it's skills such as maybe listening. Listening, a lot of people cannot listen, which is odd. But some of the skills that yet you need to craft as you take on the journey, because you're going to engage a lot of people, and as you engage a lot of people, maybe doing the research, it means you're going to have to pay attention to a lot of voices, to a lot of perspectives. So that means you need to be in fact, you need to be a great. You need to be the greatest listener in the room if you want to be a pioneer. Some of the things that I'm going to share, that not necessarily some of the things that you've got to do, but I'm sharing some of the things that as I see them, as I've experienced them in my journey. The issue of speaking becomes crucially important, because this very conversation what we're having right now, if I wouldn't be able to speak. So you've got to train that every day. You've got a mirror at home, use that to your advantage. You've got a selfie cam on your cell phone, use that to your advantage to ensure that you craft and train and practice and perfect these skills. Writing. Other people say that they cannot write, but yet they're always updating statuses on Facebook and WhatsApp. So, so you need to craft that skill. You need to ensure that you perfect that skill over time, so you try and better that, develop that skill. You read you're checking out some YouTube tutorials and things like that, you're reading out some material from great writers, you're trying by all means, to better your skill. Some of the things that you obviously need, self-confidence, crucially important, because also as you share your dream, your story, will be a lot of people are not going to resonate with your story. So it means if you do not have, if you've got a low self-esteem, obviously you're going to find yourself in trouble, because you're probably going to be depressed half of the time, or if not more. So some of the things that you also need to train yourself. You need, a little bit of an ego to ensure that it keeps you going and it keeps you driving, regardless of the attacks that you're going to get along the way. So some of the skills, I'm just sharing some of the basic skills that you may need to ensure that in your journey of pioneering, because as a pioneer, you're basically carving out a new path and setting out new grounds. You're not necessarily following the trends, you're going against the wind. So it means you gotta be tough, you gotta be bold. You gotta ensure that you're gonna withstand, all the attacks and people saying you're crazy and things like that. Now, the aspect of starting now and starting as early as possible, is extremely important, ensuring that you start the journey as soon as possible, as early as possible, with the legal resources that you have. So a lot of people in South Africa, not too sure about other countries, they talk about the issue of funding, and I think no one can deny the fact that we all need funding. We need capital to start whatever it is that we want to achieve. But if I'm going to share you my personal story, I've never had an instance where whatever that we're doing, we've got capital. So the point I'm trying to make is you gotta start with the little that you have. So if, for example, you want to start a photography company and you've got a phone, well, you've got to start with that and see how maybe you can install some apps to make sure that you can, try and better the images that you capture. And there's photographers who capture on phones, on Instagram, for example. So those are some of the things that you need to look at as to what do you have, and how can you start, like right now, after this video, how can you start as early as you can with the legal resources that you have, because you may not have $1 million as you would read in some Silicon Valley a success story. So you're in South Africa, and your reality is a lot of people do not believe in the power of ideas. So it means that you're going to have to start with the little that you have. And that is the reality. So that is crucially important. So the question maybe you need to ask yourself is, between this big dream that you have and right now, what is it that you can do right now so that you can start the journey? And it could be something as little as subscribing to a blog, subscribing to a YouTube channel, and ensuring that every day you watch that YouTube channel, and then in the comments section you're starting to interact with people in that particular industry, and you're starting to build networks. You're starting to attend seminars. Right now there's virtual seminars, which means you can attend seminars all over the world, through Zoom, through Skype and whatnot, and all these other platforms. So that's what it takes. That's what it means to start now. You may not necessarily be buying equipment and actually registering an actual company, but it means that you're starting the journey. You're starting to condition your mindset and putting yourself in that position where you can meet other people who are relevant to whatever it is that you want to achieve. As we wrap up, some of the things that are crucially important also is reading, the aspect of reading relevant material. So if you're used to reading stuff on your Twitter, stuff on your Facebook, you need to now start questioning, what is it that you're always reading? Is it just your friends? If it is just your friend, what is it that they're posting on a daily? Because what you need to do is you need to be ahead of time. So you need to know where the world is going 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. Because that is crucially important in guiding you again in terms of your problem-solving direction that you are taking. What steps do you need to take, and what sort of technologies that you may need to be aware of. Latest gear, latest equipment, latest way of doing this or that. So reading is crucially important. There's the reports, the surveys, there's World Economic Forum, there's all of these. There's Forbes, there's New York Times, there's all of these, CNBC. crucially important that you start reading the right material, because again, it's going to shape you, and then also you're going to get a lot of ideas in that process as well as to how you can better your idea, your concept, your product, whatever it is that you want to do. As you listen to these roundtable discussions, as you listen to these panel discussions, that is where you actually get to understand that maybe that whatever idea that you had, maybe you may think it's crazy, it's too wild, but you actually realize that, oh, elsewhere in the world, there's people who are talking about this, and that keeps you going, and it gives you the direction as to how you can discover a lot more opportunities. Last few points, you gotta ensure that you embrace the new way of doing things, the new thinking, even though those who are around you and those that you care about may not necessarily resonate with your lifestyle, with your thoughts, with your philosophies, but you gotta ensure that you embrace the new normal, as especially as we can see today, because you cannot be resistant to change as a pioneer. The last points is you need to think global. That is crucially important. We running a startup in Richards Bay, but we do not see it as a company in Richards Bay. So that is crucially important that you think global, and you understand what else is going on around the world in your respective space. So those are some of the things that are also important, because they also get to give you the idea of where you're playing. Are you playing too small? Are you playing too little? It sort of gives you also the direction as to what are some of the problems as well locally, and how you can approach them as you look at your other global competitors. So that's something also very important, philosophically speaking, because the mindset and the attitude, your attitude, is a big part of your journey and a big part of whatever it is that you're doing or your business. So it is very important that you think global and that you see yourself in that space, and that means that you're going to keep to that level and that standard of quality, so that you can always maintain that high level of performance as well as success. Very, very last point is you gotta be comfortable with the uncomfortable. That means throwing yourself in the deep end. A lot of the times, again, if we're gonna just go back to the issue of purpose, because this point could be misinterpreted, because there's scammers, there's people who are gonna go around saying that they're gonna do a particular type of job, knowing very well that they cannot do that job, just because they want to scam that particular company or individual. That's not the point here. The point here is because you want to learn as much as you can, you want to experience as much as you can, you're going to throw yourself in the deep end, and in that process you may not necessarily you may fail technically, but you may find that through that process there's a lot of things that you have learned in that process, and that's going to help you refine your product, your concept, your system as you embark on that journey to pioneer. I hope that the points that I've shared with you today are going to add value to your life, and I hope that they are going to be impactful in whatever it is that you're doing. All the best to your journey as well as your path. And my last message would be, let us ensure that we transform society, and let us ensure that we create a new reality for ourselves as this generation. We gotta take it upon ourselves as young people and see to it that we achieve our dreams, as well as these big goals, so to ensure that we open up the economy, as well as ensure that there's success for this particular generation and this country. I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much to the team at Enable.